In this episode of Inspired Infrastructure, I'm taking another viewer suggestion, this time from Joel in Blacksburg, Virginia, who highlighted a dangerous crosswalk near where he lives on Patrick Henry Drive. Let's hear it from him.
I'm in the crosswalk, should be visible to drivers. Here comes my kids, and that's what's going to kill my kids one day. That's what makes me nervous. We've got to change this.
Joel also shared another video showing cars traveling over 40 miles an hour on this street, which is only posted at 25. He included a chart illustrating how pedestrian fatalities increase exponentially with vehicular speed. And at speeds like this, a collision is very likely to be fatal for someone crossing the street. To understand this issue better, I wanted to take a look at a map and see who might be using this crosswalk. On Google Maps, just southwest of Patrick Henry Drive, I see a community recreation area with a baseball field, tennis courts, playgrounds, a skate park, shelters, a community center, and an aquatic center. And facilities like this are going to attract people of all ages and all modes of transportation, especially because across the street we have a school and a residential neighborhood all within walking distance. This crosswalk is likely to be popular with children, whether supervised or not. And if the road allows drivers to exceed 40 miles an hour, it poses a dangerous situation for these vulnerable users. Next, I dove into Google Street View to experience this street at ground level. The roadway design appears to enable drivers to build up speed because there's long stretches without any traffic control, and there's minimal signage indicating a crosswalk ahead. There's this school zone sign, but it's faded and outdated. I have other concerns here too. These on-street bike lanes are narrow and not physically separated from the vehicular lanes, so they're not going to feel very inviting for people riding bikes here, especially children. And because of that, this extra empty pavement is just going to encourage drivers to drive even faster, thus making this feel even more dangerous to be riding a bike here. Then these sidewalks are curb attached, which puts the pedestrians right next to the roadway without any kind of separation of grass or trees to make that feel comfortable for people walking and rolling along the street. And also using Google Street View's time travel feature, I can see that back in about 2012, this sidewalk on the right was rebuilt, likely to build this pedestrian ramp for wheelchair access. But the left side remains unimproved, and neither side are ADA compliant. Even in the recent images, we see that this sidewalk ramp here on the east side doesn't have a landing space for wheelchair users to turn before ascending or descending that ramp. So at a minimum, to meet federal ADA standards, this needs to be widened, and these sidewalks need to be rebuilt to make this crosswalk accessible for all users. So in addition to just looking at the crosswalk and seeing what we can do to make it safer, I think we should take a look at Patrick Henry Drive as a whole and see what opportunities are there to make this corridor more inviting for people biking and walking along the street, which in turn would slow down traffic and make this whole area safer and more comfortable for Joel's family and neighbors. But looking at a property map through the city's GIS portal, I found that Patrick Henry is pretty constrained here. It's got a right-of-way width of 44 to 47 feet around this crosswalk, and widening that space to be able to really improve this roadway is usually challenging and time-consuming and expensive depending on property ownership and the funding that's available for a project. But since there's city property and a high school next to this road, it might be easier than normal to create some additional separation between the different modes of traffic to really make this feel safer. So what I've done is used Beyond Typicals to rebuild the existing conditions at the crossing. Then I could start visualizing some improvements within the right-of-way here that would make this area of Patrick Henry feel safer. It would slow down the cars and make drivers more aware of this crosswalk. That first includes narrowing the lanes from 12 feet wide to 10, which gives drivers less room for error and naturally slows down moving traffic. With that extra 2 feet of room on each side, I've then added in some striped buffers with white flex posts to delineate that space between cars and bikes. And this could even be further improved with some more permanent concrete barriers in the future. Then I'm proposing a raised crosswalk here, which is essentially a speed bump for cars that pedestrians walk along the top of. This ramp forces approaching cars to slow down by about 10 miles an hour, and we know that dropping that much speed can reduce the likelihood that someone dies by about 50%. Not only that, raised crosswalks increase the visibility of someone crossing the road, which will make drivers more aware of crossing pedestrians and more likely to slow down and yield to them. The other benefit in this specific location is that a raised crossing means sidewalk ramps can either be shortened or eliminated, so there may not be a need to widen the sidewalk outside the right-of-way to provide an ADA-compliant crossing and landing zones at the top of a ramp. Then I've added some modern solar-powered flashing beacons and supplementary pavement markings here, which will bring even more attention to people walking across Patrick Henry. With these improvements that don't require widening the road, we can be sure that Blacksburg residents can feel much safer both on and across Patrick Henry Drive, while only increasing the travel time of drivers by just seconds. For more episodes like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out inspiredinfrastructure.com.